Let's do a little thought experiment. I want you to imagine traveling backwards in time, way past the dinosaurs, past the very first animals, past even the simplest algae. We are plunging straight into the pitch black, violently churning, volcanic depths of our ancient planet. We're hunting for a singular point in history, that exact moment when life as we know it locked in its ultimate survival code. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're meeting LUCA, the last universal common ancestor. And listen, this isn't just some dusty biology lesson. This is literally the story of us. It's a story of how one incredibly complex cellular machine survived a literal planetary hellscape to become the great-grandparent of every single living thing on Earth.
Think about this for a second. If you trace your family tree back, you find your grandparents, right? Keep going for millions of years, and you hit the ancestors of all humans. But what if we just keep going? Keep working your way backward through the sheer abyss of deep time. Whether you start this journey with a human, a silverback gorilla, a giant ginkgo tree, or even those weird microscopic bacteria living miles deep inside the Earth's crust right now, all roads lead back to the exact same starting point. Now, biologists have suspected for a long time that there had to be a common origin, but the massive scientific problem we faced was figuring out what that origin actually looked like and how on Earth it emerged from the dark, boiling void of the early Earth.
For decades, scientists were stuck on a fundamental mystery. It's like a giant puzzle. Did life just sprout up like a chaotic, messy web from multiple, independent primordial soups all over the planet? Or did it grow from one singular, unified root? It is a massive question, because you see, early single-celled microbes were notoriously messy. They swapped genes constantly, basically tossing pieces of DNA back and forth in a giant communal soup. It's kind of like swapping recipe cards with all your neighbors. And this rampant gene swapping, which scientists call horizontal gene transfer, really complicated things. It made some researchers wonder if the base of our tree of life was actually just a tangled web of completely unrelated origins. Like if a bunch of different first ancestors just mash their genetics together, it would mean life doesn't actually share a single unbroken lineage. To solve this, researchers couldn't just philosophize about it. They needed hard mathematical proof. They had to test the idea of life's unity against the possibility of multiple independent origins, which leads us to a really astonishing experiment. Enter biochemist Douglas Theobald. He decided to put this to the ultimate mathematical test. He ran rigorous statistical models on universal proteins, the ones found across all domains of life. He essentially pitted the multiple origins scenario against the single ancestor theory, and the results? Absolutely staggering. He calculated that a single universal common ancestor is an astonishing 10 to the power of 2,860 times more probable than multiple origins. Let that sink in. That's a 1 followed by 2,860 zeros. It is a number vastly larger than all the atoms in our entire observable universe. So boom, the debate was settled. It's a mathematical certainty. Every living thing on Earth really did descend from one specific ancestral population. But who was this ancestor? And how do you even study something that vanished billions of years ago? Part 1, the genetic time machine. Let's look at how they actually found LUCA. Because remember, LUCA didn't leave behind fossilized bones. There are no ancient rocks from that exact era where we can point and say, aha, that's LUCA. So without physical fossils, researchers had to look inside the DNA of organisms alive today and mathematically work backward. It is brilliant. Since they couldn't use microscopes to peer into the past, they used supercomputers. First, they took the modern genomes of 350 bacteria and 350 archaea, two of life's most fundamental branches, and compared them side by side. Then, they mapped out nearly 10,000 gene families, carefully filtering out all that noisy horizontal gene transfer we just talked about. Finally, they used probabilistic models. They essentially hit rewind on evolution to calculate the exact mathematical odds that these specific genes existed billions of years ago. By finding the genetic code that survived in both branches, they reconstructed the biological blueprint of a ghost, an organism that hasn't existed since the dawn of our planet. And the results from this genetic time machine are completely mind-blowing. This backtracking revealed that our last universal common ancestor, LUCA, lived approximately 4.2 billion years ago. Just think about that timeline for a second. The entire Earth is only about 4.5 billion years old. This means LUCA existed during the Hadean Eon, literally named after Hades, the Greek underworld. The planet was a dark, violent volcanic hellscape, likely getting constantly smashed by asteroids during the late heavy bombardment. Yet hidden away in deep-sea hydrothermal vents, completely shielded from the chaos on the surface, bathed in a vivid, dark, boiling, mineral-rich soup, LUCA wasn't just surviving.
It was thriving.
This discovery completely shatters what we thought we knew. For decades, the old view was that early life was just this simple, primitive, half-alive chemical soup, right? Just some fumbling bundle of reactions barely clinging to existence. But the data says otherwise. The new reality? LUCA was a highly complex, free-living cellular organism. It possessed a sophisticated double-stranded DNA genome coding for roughly 2,600 proteins. It was so incredibly advanced that it actually had an early immune system. I mean, think about that. Over 4 billion years ago, our ultimate ancestor was already locked in a high-stakes microscopic arms race fighting off ancient viruses. No way is that just a simple soup.
To really appreciate just how mind-bending LUCA's complexity is, let's put it into a modern perspective. A few years ago, scientists in a lab engineered a synthetic minimal cell. Basically, they stripped a modern bacterium down to the absolute bare minimum genetic code it needs to stay alive. That highly engineered synthetic organism needs 473 genes to survive. Even a wild mycoplasma bacterium today runs on about 900 genes. LUCA, living over 4 billion years ago in a volcanic ocean, boasted an estimated 2,600 proteins. LUCA was not some janky prototype. It was already a highly optimized, incredibly sophisticated biological machine.
Now, I do need to clarify a crucial nuance here. LUCA was not the first living thing to ever exist. Life likely started even earlier with simpler forms, what you might call first universal cellular ancestors. But LUCA was the specific population that crossed what scientists call the Darwinian threshold. Before this threshold, early life was just that communal genetic soup we talked about, freely swapping parts with no strict family trees. But LUCA locked it in. It solidified its biological operating system. And when those harsh, apocalyptic planetary conditions wiped out the other primordial experiments, LUCA's locked-in code was just better at surviving. It outsurvived all the competition and literally became the only game in town.
And because LUCA won that brutal evolutionary bottleneck, it passed down its exact operating system to everything that came after it. Because of this monumental win, every living thing today uses that exact same software. We all share the same universal DNA genetic code. We all exclusively use left-handed amino acids to build proteins, even though right-handed ones exist perfectly fine in nature. We all use the exact same ATP molecule for our cellular energy. We all use the same ribosomal machinery to build our bodies. This means that you, the oak tree outside your window, and the bacteria in your gut share a profound, undeniable biological unity. We are all literally running on LUCA's original software. Which brings us to a really mind-bending existential realization. If LUCA was so complex and emerged so quickly in Earth's history, just a few 100 million years after the planet itself formed, it entirely shifts our philosophical understanding of reality. Nobel laureate Christian de Duve hit the nail on the head. He suggested that life might not be some highly improbable 1 in a trillion cosmic accident. Instead, given the right chemical environment, the right thermodynamics, and energetic planetary chemistry, life might actually be a necessary deterministic chemical reaction. The universe might just be hardwired to create it.
What this means for our own identity as human beings is absolutely profound. You are not disconnected from the natural world, you are the direct continuation of it. Every single organism on this planet is connected by a continuous, unbroken chain of survival, a chain that stretches back 4.2 billion years into the dark, crushing, volcanic depths of that ancient Hadean Ocean. Countless catastrophes, ice ages, and asteroid impacts have happened since then, but that microscopic lineage never broke, not even once. It adapted, it evolved, it branched out, and eventually it became us. So, I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. We now know for sure that life isn't fragile. We know that a highly sophisticated biological entity mastered survival in a dark, boiling, toxic ocean almost as soon as our planet had liquid water. So, if complex life locked in its survival code that quickly and effectively here on early Earth, what is waiting for us out there right now in the dark, icy oceans of moons like Europa or Enceladus? If LUCA's epic 4.2 billion year story teaches us anything, it's that once life locks in, it is an absolutely unstoppable force.